Welcome to Minutes by Minute. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Dave Kenny.
And we're going to talk about what the township committees, all the various political people in terms of the village and surrounding area like Leonard and
Addison Township.
Addison Township.
And these are the people you elected, so pay attention.
And they're making ordinances all over the place, so we want to watch them, right?
Hither, tither, and yon.
Yes, hither and thither this. First one is Oxford Downtown Development Authority. Was on the agenda. And they met, actually the village council was concerned with an issue that they had brought up, as was the DDA. The trails, or not the trails, but the bus company. Who's the bus organization?
NODA?
NODA, they're it. Okay, good. You get so far an A. Yeah. NODA, which has just moved their facility over to Lake Orion.
Right, they're occupying a school maintenance area.
Right, but they're going to be running out of some money because they're going to lose their grants. So they ask if money could be given back on an election vote, which they would have before the people of various villages and townships. Like
when you say given back, you mean stuff that would be given to Downtown Development Authority through the TIF program.
Right. And what happens there is, let's say they go for a millage, there's a certain percentage of that millage, according to the state requirement, that would go to the DDA.
Right.
So they have requested, excuse me, the village council allow the DDA to give up that money. Well, the DDA said, you know, we really don't have any money right now, and we're trying to build this thing up because we just went through a real financial crisis.
Is that their way of saying no?
Well, actually they said no before it was done. Bill Dunn said, you know, I'm kind of serving two fronts here. He said, I'm on the NODA board and I'm also on the DDA board. But he said, the part of me on the DDA would like to have that, but he said on the part of the...
Dr. Jekyll and Hyde the money.
Yeah, yeah, he's kind of split right down the middle, poor guy. So, but anyway, he had the strength to say, unfortunately, I don't think that we should, you know, allow this to happen, that the money should stay in its respective area.
And that's a little fight that NODA has to go through with every single municipality that's going to have the same ballot on their November election.
Here's the thing that came up in the DDA meeting. Bill Dunn said, if we allow this to happen, then what about the fire department? What about the fire department? They'll be after funds too because they get money, you know, from the tax. And
well, basically, it's, as I understand TIF, any new millage that comes down the road that's approved, the TIF program will give the DDA a certain percentage of that new millage.
Exactly right. You got it right.
Right.
Well, the other entity that would be involved would be the library. And he would say, whoa, wait a minute. You're giving money to them. Give money to those people. We want the money too. So, you know, it opens up, what do they call Pandora's box?
Pandora's box?
Yeah.
Can of worms?
Can of worms. And Bill Dunn says, for that reason, he said, I don't really want to get involved in lawsuits. So he said, I don't think that we should go ahead with this. And they agreed, you know, their committee. So took care of that one.
But NODA didn't.
NODA hasn't yet. They still have to scamper and try to find ways to get money. I suspect.
You know what percentage that is that comes off of a millage?
You know, I did know that, but I can't recall.
It's the same one for no matter what the new millage is or who puts it out.
Right, it is.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry. That's another one you can research.
Okay, thank you, Dad.
No problem, Sonny.
I'll run off and do that right now.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Also at the DDA meeting, they discussed the Main Street, Oakland County annual review that they had. Although the village is rated pretty well in terms of what it was doing, because they don't have a full-time director. They at least should have a director who's dedicated to the DDA.
Right. Does it necessarily have to?
Hours.
I was going to say, does it necessarily have to be a full-time director?
Beat you to it.
Is it
25 hours.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which was a subject that we beat to death at the OACCC.
We did do that. Okay. But Sue Basardi, who also serves on the village council, was at the DDA meeting, and she said that she was involved with the Main Street issue from the get-go, from way back when. I'll tell you how many years that was. 4 or 5 maybe? I'll tell you.
Okay.
But anyway, she said it's very dear to her heart, and she feels bad in the fact that, you know, they're now not accredited. But she is under the understanding that we've been accredited before, we lost accreditation, we have regained it again, and now we've lost it again. So that doesn't mean that we can't gain it back. And Bill Dunn's position was that, you know,
It's a slippery little trout, isn't it?
yeah, it's not going to make a difference with the way business is conducted here, because we know that they do a great job of with their businesses downtown. That's not going to change. It's just the identification of this particular thing, which appears to be prestigious.
Right. And next year, with better financial situations and improving economy, maybe we'll get it back.
I believe they will. It's a matter of time. They have discussed a part-time director, and I believe they will be actively looking for one. I can only speak for that, but I don't think that they want that accreditation to disappear.
No.
You know, for any length of time.
It's a shiny gold star they kind of miss.
It is. So that pretty much covers the DDA, and actually interfaced with the village council as well. So there's a little bit of, you know, back and forth things. Village council agrees with the DDA, of course, that they should not proceed with it, you know, because they are in a financial strait yet. They need to recover, and it's kind of like feeling that vultures are circling overhead, you know? and DDA doesn't want to be the victim. So
What makes vultures go away?
when the food is all gone.
Ooh.
Okay, I don't know, I guess. The other meeting that we want to discuss is Addison Township Planning Commission. And that was a really fast meeting. There wasn't a whole lot to it. They had a public hearing with no public. There wasn't anybody there. So that went by rather quickly.
Which might be a lesson for all you people watching. When they have a public meeting, show up, or your voice won't get heard.
Or if you do show up, you might be the only person there.
In which
I don't
case,
think
you can
so.
speak forever.
Right, you can speak forever. No, I think there's a limit after a while. They probably want to go home at some point. But so
When
anyway,
the bell rings.
yeah. So one of the subjects that they brought up was temporary structures, and having ordinance on that, and being able to provide temporary permits. And one of the people said, or the commissioner said, well, what constitutes a temporary structure?
A fishing shack
Yeah, well,
on
it
the
could
ice. It'll be temporary come spring.
Spring, it will be long gone. But as they pointed out, a temporary structure would be, let's say you've got a construction being done, and you need a temporary office situation, so you bring in a trailer, and you set it up. Okay, that would be a temporary structure. Pole building probably wouldn't be, because once you put up a pole building, it's probably going to be there for a while. If somebody sets up a tent for some reason or another, that would be a temporary structure.
Unless he sets up house.
Okay, but you're going to say, why would they set up a tent? Probably not in this
Why
time
would
of
they
weather.
set up a tent, Dad?
Well, here's the thing. Let's say it's a construction company. They have equipment, so they want to cover the equipment. So you do that with a tent.
Okay.
That makes sense. Okay,
Same
that's
as
temporary.
Same as the office. Yeah.
Yeah, and they talked about major thoroughfares, but we've covered that on some other meetings, so or sessions. So that's pretty much it in terms of what we have in this first part. This is Minutes by Minute. I'm Elgin Nichols, and we'll be back in just a moment.
See you then.
Welcome back to Minutes by Minute. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Dave Kenny.
And we just got through talking about Addison Township Planning Commission meeting, which was really, really short. And now we're
So
going to...
we'll move on.
So we're going to talk about the Oxford Board of Trustees meeting on March 12th. Bill Dunn, of course, leads that group. Two issues that they talked about. The first one was the parks and recreation and the new building that they're talking about putting up. But the other item was fire department, and both issues concern tax money and millages. So let me just talk about, first of all, the Parks and Rec. Ron Davis, of course, is the director. Did a great job of presentation of what they would like to do. Originally, I'm trying to think of the year, 1998, I think it was, or whatever, but they had I think a 1.65 millage that they tried to go for, and it failed.
And what was that for?
Well, that was pretty much to get another building, to do a building. But at
Oh,
that time, if you recall.
Well, that was to have a Parks and Rec office building, wasn't it?
Yeah.
On Coates Road.
It was.
Okay.
Yep. You remember that.
Elephants do. I can too.
You can too, yes. Okay. And let's just trip over real quick and talk about Pete Schultz first, Chief. Their current millage that they have expires at the end of 2014. Their fire, let me see, they got
This is for ongoing expenses.
ongoing expenses. They have 1 point millage appointed to the ALS service. They have 1.5 for fire and EMS, or 3.9 mils is what the full requirement is.
They increase a little bit there?
They have increased, and that's what they're looking for, 3.9 mils on the next ballot. Now, the question is, what are you going to use this money for? Well, okay. He pointed out, Mr. Schultz, the chief, that they don't have enough manpower to handle their EMS service, for example. They have what they call temp place people that are what do they call them? Per call, on call.
Almost like contractors.
Like a contractor, but every time that they're called, they go
Right.
out and they either drive the trucks
Ad hoc.
or, yeah, right. And the problem they have is they don't have enough of these people now showing up, because at a year or so back, people were out of work, so they didn't have any problems.
And this
filling
can't be any Tom, Dick, or Harry. It has to be a trained individual.
You better be trained at least on how to drive the vehicle if that's
Right.
what you're going to do.
Right.
So that's an issue, and what Pete Schultz, the chief, said is that we now are drawing from our firemen and so forth to handle these calls, and we just don't have enough manpower.
Which could compromise their effectiveness if they had multiple calls.
Right. And to compound that, they have 2 trucks that need to be rebuilt or replaced. And to replace those trucks, they're talking roughly $900,000 pieces.
No Volkswagen there.
No Volkswagen there. And he says, I really don't want to spend $900,000 on trucks. So he said, we can rebuild these vehicles, he said, and have them reconditioned for about $200,000, which sounds like a better route to take.
It's not like these vehicles get a lot of miles on them.
Well, yeah, over a year or so they could, though, within the township.
Yeah.
They travel some distance. And you keep adding it up. How soon do you have to change your oil in your car? I don't know. Depends on how many miles you take here and there and whatever.
Usually it's about 8,000 miles with the new cars, although a lot of oil change places want to go at 3.
Right. That's true. The other thing is that they do get backup. One member said, is there anybody else we can draw from? B says, we're already drawing from them. He said, who's that? We're getting people from Brandon and Addison Township. When they have people available, they can fit in. But,
But
do you
being
imagine
a-
what a jockeying process
Well, yeah,
is?
and of course, a call going to a more distant person means that the response is going to be a little slower.
Yeah, and that's the thing that concerns him is that, you get a critical situation, you got to be there.
Right.
So, if it hasn't happened yet, it will happen at some point.
All right.
The other thing is that he says that his existing fire people, I say people because they have women too, that are people that put out fires, their facilities are next to nothing. So they all share a room 10 by 10 right now, little tight quarters. And not only that, but they sleep there too. So he's asking, for an addition to be put on the firehouse.
How many people actually sleep there
He says there's usually 2 to 4 people, usually, bunk in.
in a 10 by 10?
Yeah. And it can be female or male in the existing situation. So
Yeah.
he's asking for facilities for, male and female. And to do this,
As opposed to a partition.
as far as a partition. Partition, yes, that's right. So anyway, so he's asking for an addition. Also, their cooking facilities are rather tough because being there so many hours, these people, they do prepare their own food there too. They practically live there as nomads.
Yeah, usually in a fire department, they rotate who's going to be the cook, I think, don't they?
They say, anybody here know how to not burn food? Okay, you're our cook.
For firemen, what are you talking about?
Right. I don't know exactly how that works. They pick the shortest straw or whatever it is, or whoever is lucky to be there first.
Except for Bob,
Yeah.
maybe he's an awful cook, I don't know.
Could be, I have no idea.
He gets a pass. I don't know.
Right.
I just hope there's no actual fireman named Bob. It was a,
There probably is.
oh, thanks.
He's going to take exception to this, you know. Anyway, Jack Curtis, he raised his hand. He says, "Hey," he says, "in this millage that you proposed, 3.9," he said, "Why are we going for the millage for the building?" He says, "We have the funds." He says, and those funds in the township are to be used for that particular use. He said, "Why don't we just use that money?"
Oh, it's the old fund balance thing, isn't it?
Right? And
You've got this elephant, so let's get a
Yeah.
piece of it there.
The fire chief says, "Okay."
Did the
see-
council say, okay?
Well, actually, Bill Dunn was inclined to go along with that.
Oh, good,
So,
good.
and the others thought that would be a good idea. But now, how do you propose this 3.9 funding, which would be a 1.4 increase over the funding that they're getting right now, 2.5?
But if they get this amount out of the fund balance, then that doesn't put such a, and it's a one-time shot as far as building an addition,
Right.
that would maybe be reasonable to reduce that amount of millage increase.
Well, the question is, do you put it on two separate issues on the ballot? You know, one for the building and one for operating expenses, that kind of thing? Or do you do it all in one? So they fought back and forth for about 20 minutes trying to figure it out. And I'll let you know the conclusion of that when we come back in just a moment.
You always keep me on tenterhooks.
Yeah. Welcome back to Minutes by Minute. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Dave Kenny.
And we're on the subject of the Township Trustees meeting that they had.
Yes.
And they're talking about what else? Taxes.
What else? What
What else
taxes?
but taxes, right. And we're
With an
talking...
election coming up, that's pretty much the subject of the day.
Absolutely. And so when we left you, they were determining if they should split the tax difference into two separate issues, like 2.5 and adding another one for 1.4, in which you come up with 3.9. Now, if you caught that, you're doing well out there. So the thought was that they should combine the millage at 3.9. A motion was made on it, ready to roll with it, and all of a sudden, somebody says, "No, we need to not do that. We need to separate them somehow." So they did a revote. They had to throw that one out, bring back another one, in which case, and we're talking about the August election.
But could I ask a question here?
Yeah.
Please.
No. Yeah, go
No,
ahead.
yes, I will.
What's the question?
The 3.9, part of that 3.9 went towards putting an addition onto their building.
Yep, 1 point.
But yet, the council also talked about taking money out of their fund balance to do exactly the same thing,
Right.
which
It's not
would
going to be
have...
both. If one of these is turned down, let's say the 1.4 is turned down, if it's on two separate ballots,
Oh.
then they'll look at that as a
Oh,
possibility.
okay then. All right, all right.
So,
Why didn't they just do that right off the bat?
well, they had
the
some-
money,
Yeah, well, they were talking about that, but they never did settle on it until.
which would have reduced the 3.9 right
Until-
off the bat, too.
right,
And
until-
made it more palatable to the voter.
We're going through this whole thing again. I just did it at the meeting. And they agreed to disagree. And then they came back again and they finally agreed. And in the June election, as I understand it, this or June, April, or August, what day is it? It's going to be in August.
August?
But anyway, the August, there's a election in August and another one in December of 2014.
November.
Or November of 2014.
Why two? Why not just combine them?
Well, they did that, and they approved it, and then they disagreed. We won't go back there again. So anyway, they ended
No,
up with...
I mean combine the elections, not the tax.
Oh, no, they don't do that.
Oh, okay.
So anyway,
Be cheaper.
yeah, well, might be. Anyway, too late for that. So in August, it was agreed that they would have two separate issues on the ballot for the fire department. That being said, we're done. Now, if that fails, then they'll go back probably in November and try to figure it out on how they're going to handle it. Let me see. The other one, Parks and Recs. That was a really interesting situation, which Ron Davis talked about the new park.
The new park or the new facility?
Communication or
Community center.
community. That's the word I'm looking for. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I was searching here, there, and yonder. Finally found it. But anyway, so they have a proposal forward that is going to look for a 3.9 millage, which will build this new building. It's going to be, you know where?
Stony Lake Park.
Exactly. Yep. And they had pictures of it and so forth. And you can go to OCC TV, and actually on the news, it's broadcast, I believe, at 6 o'clock p.m. There will be a picture of this as one of the news items. So that's one thing. You can take a look at it, or you can go down to the village or the township, and you can see the picture there. Township. Anyway, they're going to have a lobby, obviously, with nice couches, that kind of thing. Community rooms for arts, crafts, and all those kind of things. Computers, meetings, etc. They're going to have a gymnasium with 3 courts, because basketball is a big thing, I guess, in this area. So they're going to have 3 courts in it.
But not only basketball, it can be used for other sports such as volleyball, tennis,
Absolutely.
badminton.
You had to point that out, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
It's true. Okay.
Us short guys have to have advantages here too.
Okay. They're going to have a special events room, which you can play ping pong or whatever you want.
Well, thanks.
Day camp for working parents, which is nice. Let's say both parents are working, and all of a sudden you got to drop the little critter off somewhere. You can take the critter there. Okay? Critter. Running and walking track. You have a running and walking track. And get this, you're going to have a pool. You're going to have water slides and lap swimming. And as old as you are, you can just roll into the pool. You split splash and get back out. They can drag you out.
Did they say how big this
Well, they
pool
use those
was?
things, a gap.
Not little bathtub, but it's supposed to be a good-sized pool, isn't
It
it?
is, but it's not going to be like the high school pool in that it's designed for competition,
Yeah.
from one end to the other. This is going to be a warmer pool. If you get into the school one, you're going to notice it's pretty cold in there.
Well, it's always the sound of sucking air when you're jumping into that one.
Right. So that's going to be different. So some activities which are very much wanting to have that pool, because they were told by the school that they would have to pay somewhere in the neighborhood of $93,000 to use the pool down there for a year. They don't really have that in their budget.
Was there also
Davis
a proposal
showed
to have a connecting trail that went to it?
Yeah.
From,
a safety trail is
Yeah.
going to go along there. They're going to have to run a new water line out to that area, and they have talked to the neighbor across from them, and he's interested, the gravel
Okay.
thing over there, interested in very much having that in, and is willing to share the expense of bringing that in.
but this
At this
facility
point,
will.
it's under negotiation yet.
But this facility will coexist peacefully, we'll say, with the existing park.
Well, they don't know about the neighbors yet.
No, I don't mean the neighbors. Well, but the existing park and the swimming facilities and picnic facilities and stuff like they have there.
They're going to have to move the larger gazebo, I think, to another location in order to do this.
Gazebo or the pavilion?
Pavilion. That's the
Okay.
word.
All right.
Boy, I'll spread rumors here. Okay, a pavilion. They're going to have to move that, and that doesn't seem to be a problem. They're going to have a senior lifestyle center also, where seniors can use the facility all the time. Administrative offices, Davis says it makes sense to move it, here, which it does.
Will that function as the Parks and Rec general offices?
It will. When they move, if they build this, they'll be all set. It's going to go on the November ballot, though, my understanding, at 3.9 mils. What's coming up?
Well, for this week, I got nothing. But on 4/1, April Fool's Day,
Oh, you talking to
the
me?
Village
You
of
can't be talking to
Oxford
me.
Planning Commission will meet at 7 o'clock. And on 4/2 at 6:30, the Oxford Township Planning Commission Economic Development Subcommittee will probably meet. But check, because sometimes they cancel those meetings.
Tell me more.
There's no more.
There's no more? Oh, okay. Well, you're probably wondering how much this building's going to cost, by the way. And they're looking at roughly 916, well, actually 25 million is what it's gonna
25
cost.
million gets it started, and I think
Yep.
the other number you were talking about was yearly maintenance.
That's exactly right. We'll talk about this again in the future. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Dave Kenny.
Catch you next time on Minutes by Minute.
See you then.
You're watching OCTV, Oxford Community Television, serving Oxford, Addison Township, and the village of Leonard.
At Oakland County Parks and Recreation, we value what you value: family relationships, community connections, good health, environmental stewardship, and economic stability. Oakland County residents and businesses have invested in preserving nearly 7,000 acres of parkland. Since 1966, 13 parks and golf courses have been acquired, maintained, and improved. Oakland County parks and facilities are made possible by millage funds supported by Oakland County residents. For a home valued at $200,000, the homeowner pays less than $25 per year to support the Oakland County parks. With every generation, families create lifelong memories at Oakland County's award-winning parks. From exciting summer escapades and stories around the campfire to brisk fall walks on wooded trails and snowy winter outings, the outdoors beckons year-round. It's time to get up, get out, and get going at the Oakland County parks. Active recreation options abound. Cross-country ski or mountain bike on tree-lined trails. Scale the rock climbing wall. Get your kicks with soccer at several sports fields. Row or paddle a boat on 4 picturesque inland lakes. It's an easy journey. Most parks are just a short drive away. A quick tip: all our parks and golf courses end in Oaks. To find your favorite, just go to destinationoakland.com. Click to pick Oceans of Motion water parks at Red Oaks and Waterford Oaks, the Wint Nature Center at Independence Oaks, Teen Adventures, and even entertainment to go. When outdoor adventures on your list, there's fishing, beaches, boating, playgrounds, and seasonal hunting. The campgrounds at Addison Oaks and Groveland Oaks feel like being up north with plenty of recreation options. Want to get fit? Hit the trails. Oakland County Parks boasts more than 68 miles for strolling, walking, hiking and running, biking, or horseback riding. If the links are your lure, 5 golf courses, including Premier Course Lion Oaks, are conveniently located. Make Glen Oaks or White Lake Oaks your home course. Get an up-north feel at Springfield Oaks, or play a quick 9 at Red Oaks. Our recreation lineup rocks. Learn to swim. Experience an outdoor adventures camp. Take the fast track at BMX, or gain new lifelong skills. Everyone's included. Individuals with disabilities participate in dozens of adaptive opportunities, including a new fully accessible playscape, modified golf carts, and annual events. There's always something special going on at Oakland County Parks, whether it's a classic car show, the Oakland County Fair, a senior golf tournament, or the Ellis Barn Festival. Being green is an everyday practice, with nature interpretive programs, wildlife habitat protection, reduction of invasive species, and stormwater management.